for 1 year, effective March 1, 2020. 3. Creation of a targeted credit facility. The CBN hereby establishes a facility through National Microfinance Bank to the sum of about 50 billion naira for households and micro, small, and medium enterprises that have been particularly hit by COVID-19, including but not limited to hoteliers, airline service providers, healthcare merchants, and etc. 4. Credit support for healthcare industry. To meet potential increase in demand for healthcare services and products, the CBN hereby opens for its intervention facilities loans to pharmaceutical companies intending to expand or establish their own drug manufacturing plants in Nigeria, as well as to hospital and healthcare practitioners who intend to expand or build healthcare facilities to first-class standards.
The impact of the COVID-19 on the economy, increased inflationary pressure, lowered income and oil prices. These and the restrictions in international trade are part of the reasons for reducing the monetary policy rate by the CBN in its May 2020 meeting. To strike a balance between supporting the recovery of output growth while maintaining stable price developments across inflation, the exchange rate, and market interest rates. The administration inherited a weak infrastructure stock. In 2017, Nigeria issued her first ever diaspora bond in Sukuk. The second Sukuk came in 2018, while the third was issued in 2020, bringing total Sukuk offering to 350 billion naira for infrastructure financing.
Challenges that really are well known and articulated really well in the government's economic growth and recovery plan. So for the medium term, the challenge for Nigeria, we feel, is really prioritizing revenue mobilization so that the government has enough resources that it can devote to building the infrastructure, building the network of universities and public education entities that Nigeria so badly needs. So that really is the number one medium-term priority. The focus, we feel, has to be, over the next 4 or 5 years to try and put Nigeria in a position where federal government has sufficient revenues to address the development spending needs the country has.
Policymakers are working hard with the expectation that a recession can be averted and growth restored before the end of 2020.
NTE Sports 24, where sports thrive.
I'm Becky Badujemu. It's another exciting edition of Newsline. The stories this week are intense. Back to back, there's no dull moment. Rape is a burning topic at the moment. Apart from an update on the rape and murder saga of an undergraduate called Uwa in Benin, we are opening files for new cases of that magnitude from Lagos, Jigawa and Ibadan. The crime seems to be on the rise. In the meantime, there's this riveting tale about a woman who fell into labor, and instead of hobbling her way to the hospital, she settled for the nearest bush. The reasons why she picked that location and the aftermath of the delivery will leave you dumbstruck. Something else that will make you speechless is the arrest of a suspect who allegedly sold human parts for money rituals. The program will not be complete until we pay tribute to the late reggae icon who passed on recently. Like I said, it's a package like no other. Stay through the news segment and join me when I return. Over to Claire Adelabo Abdul Razak.
Certainly, we will return back to you, Becky, and good to see you. Welcome to the news here in Abuja, and we begin from the presidency. The presidency says President Muhammadu Buhari has not and will never be a rubber stamp in the discharge of his responsibility regarding appointments into offices. The presidency, in a statement, explained that the president has a duty to ensure that all such appointments meet the requirements of the Constitution and necessary security screenings. It reminded the public about the recent incident of some ministers who did not undertake the compulsory National Youth Service. In the specific case of the acting president of the Court of Appeal, Justice M.S. Dangbam Mensem, the statutory regulatory time of her acting period has not lapsed and should not be regarded as an issue of ethnicity or religion. The statement therefore warned against stampeding the president in carrying out his constitutional duty in this respect. And with the ease of lockdown due to COVID-19, some Christian worshippers this Sunday converged on various churches to observe the first Sunday service in the month of June, and that's after about spending weeks without group worship. Omenka Marachukwu reports that there was high-level compliance with the guidelines in churches he visited here in the FCT.
At the First Baptist Church, worshippers observed the use of hand sanitizers, wearing of face masks, and adherence of social distancing. The worshippers were full of praises for God's protection during this period of pandemic.
The church actually is an ally to the government. We are promoting what the government is actually saying by reminding our people what their obligations are. So it was fantastic. I feel great that we are back to church.
Feel like the church will not open again, but God has intervened, we have opened. And I believe that the opening of the church will bring healing to Nigeria.
Methodist Archbishop of Abuja, Most Reverend Joseph Oche, and Archbishop John Praise Daniel reminded Christians to always be prayerful at all times.
If anybody says there is no COVID-19, that person is a fool, because you have ears to hear, you have eyes to see, and you see people dying like chickens. And so it is a real thing that is happening. But thank God that God's power is more than any other power.
So there are spiritual things first before they become physical. And so if we attack it spiritually from the church with prayer and commitment, we believe that we'll all have victory. So indeed, we want to thank God for the government, and we want to thank God for everyone that has cooperated.
We have been ministering online, but I've not been seeing their faces. But today I will see their faces and know how they are faring. So we are glad.
Religious activities have been under lockdown since March this year to curtail the spread of coronavirus in Nigeria. In Abuja, Omenka Marachukwu, NTA News.
And death toll from coronavirus globally surpasses 400,000 as Brazil government stops publishing COVID-19 deaths and infections. Now, this and more on Global Update on Coronavirus with Adebola Brookslyn Sunday.
In less less than 24 hours that Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro threatened to pull his country out of the World Health Organization, Bolsonaro has ordered the removal of COVID-19 data of the country from public view. He said the cumulative data did not reflect the current picture of Brazil and that the health ministry will henceforth be reporting cases and deaths on a 24-hour basis. In the meantime, Shanghai has begun to test its potential antibody treatment against the novel coronavirus in healthy people. The experimental drug Joso-16 is expected to begin human study in the United States later this month. And on the Coronavirus Resource Center dashboard of Johns Hopkins University at about 7 p.m. local time, 7,036,177 positive cases of COVID-19 have been confirmed globally. From this figure, 402,832 fatalities have been reported, while 3,445,347 of those infected have recovered. Data published by the Africa Center for Disease Control shows that 183,474 persons have been infected with coronavirus on the continent. From this number, 5,041 have died, while 81,367 people have recovered from the virus. Back home, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control announced 389 new confirmed cases of coronavirus in the country, bringing the total number to 12,233. So far, 3,826 people have recovered and have been discharged, while 342 fatalities have been recorded.
Debola Brooks-Lynn Sunday there bringing us the global update on COVID-19. And we turn our attention now to Sokoto, where the State Task Force on COVID-19 has confirmed the discharge of the remaining 5 patients in its isolation centers. Chairman of the Task Force and Commissioner for Health, Dr. Mohammed Ali Nyame, gave the confirmation while briefing newsmen in Sokoto. Shehu Mohammed Dati reports.
Was among states that recorded a large number of COVID-19 cases in the country. The state recorded 115 confirmed cases, out of which 101 confirmed by discharge, with 14 deaths recorded. Chairman, Task Force Committee on COVID-19 and Commissioner for Health, Mohammed Ali Nyame, said the success story of discharging the remaining 5 patients was based on the WHO's guidelines.
Patients that were taking care in our isolation center, they have been discharged. It will not be something strange for us to have positive cases in the future, because every day we are doing tests. Every day we do that. Even today, there are some samples that are in the lab, and we are awaiting the result of those samples.
8 out of the 23 local governments in the state were affected by the pandemic, with Wamoko local government having the highest number of cases. Even though for days Sokoto did not record any new case, the Task Force Committee maintained that samples of suspected cases will continue to be taken for testing. Dr. Nyame attributed the successes recorded to commitment of government, medical personnel and volunteer groups in the state. Despite this development, easing of restrictions caused by the pandemic is dependent on directives of the federal and state governments. In Sokoto, Shehu Muhammad Dati, NTA News.
And part of ongoing efforts towards managing the coronavirus pandemic is the quest for homegrown remedies that could either treat symptoms or boost immunity against the virus. Now, in our next report, Asabe Tanimo Williams gives us insight into efforts made so far by the federal government in this regard.
Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, during one of the media briefing, disclosed that the federal government is making headway in getting local cures for the pandemic in Nigeria, adding that the Complementary and Alternative Medicine Department of the Federal Ministry of Health has forwarded some of the claims for COVID-19 cure to the National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control, NAFDAC.
The traditionalists may depend on antidotal evidence. That is what hearsay, my grandfather did this, my mother did this. But for us in medicine, before I will tell you that Ogbo or whatever name you call it actually helps in curing this or helps in preventing this disease, I must be able to demonstrate to you through some studies that are what they call clinical studies.
In a related development, the leadership of NAFDAC met with 35 players in the herbal and alternative medicine sector as part of efforts to find locally made treatment to the coronavirus pandemic. Interestingly, all the ingredients that make up the formulations of these claims are medicinal plants that are widely used as food materials and medicines such as garlic, onions, and ginger. Asabete Williams, NTA News.
Now, like most countries of the world, Nigeria has been impacted by COVID-19. But regardless, the country's national response strategy has attracted international recognition, and that includes the World Health Organization. But after weeks of total lockdown, which was eased with strict protocols, our correspondent Deborah Agbola engaged some residents of the FCT on how the period affected them and, of course, living with the ease of lockdown.
The nation has been grappling with socio-political, economic and religious issues that seem unusual in the life of the nation.
I miss many things concerning business that is going around. All the economics is down.
I thought it was a joke until we recorded the first case in Nigeria.
Various measures such as lockdown, quarantine, self-isolation, curfew and interstate travel ban became popular among the people to the extent that it became a daily term in the nation's media. In fact, the news is not completed without the usage of some of these terms to buttress the impact of the disease and the steps being taken to curtail it. Hope of normalcy is what the people are looking forward to.
You know, it has been very tough. It's just that when you have hope in God, you believe in God and you put your trust in Him, you know, He just makes a way.
Far or near, what should the people prepare for after COVID-19?
We are actually in the era of digital economy. So it is advised that individuals should look away from government jobs and rather take advantage of the technological innovation to bring about business and economic activities to take them out of poverty.
The good news for now is Nigeria is among the countries that is tackling this scourge with all vigor and policies. Deborah Agbola, NTA News.
And the police have continued its gradual process of engaging the public ahead of the community policing policy aimed at enhancing internal security. It is in this regard that female officers of the Nigeria Police Force extended humanitarian gestures to about 1,500 persons in Kuruduma, Galadimawa and KT communities, as well as 2 police barracks, all in the FCT. Here is Francis Form with the rest of the story. We do apologize. Our report is not ready. We'll bring it as soon as Francis Form is ready with it. But in other stories, African ministers responsible for arts, culture and heritage rose from a meeting on how to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic with an 8-point communique which addressed concerns on how the pandemic negatively impacted the sector. Anthony Forson reports. All right, not to worry. We'll bring you all the stories as soon as we get them. It does happen. Let's look at security matters now. And scores of armed bandits have been neutralized and their weapons destroyed in air strikes executed by air component of Operation Hadirin Daji at 2 separate bandit camps, Tibiri and Manyam Zurmi local government areas of Zamfara State. Now, a statement signed by the coordinator, Defense Media Operations, Major General John Eneche. This was recorded on June 6, 2020, as part of offensive operations to rid the northwest and north central states of armed banditry. Now, the air interdiction mission at Tibiri, located 15 kilometers east of Zurmi, was executed after credible human intelligence reports. 2 Nigerian Air Force attack helicopters were then dispatched scoring accurate hits on the target area, leading to the destruction of the structures which stored weapons and ammunition, and also neutralized the bandits in their huts and surrounding bushes. The attack helicopters conducted similar airstrikes on another camp south of Maya, which also resulted in the killing of more armed bandits, including some of their leaders as they gathered for a meeting at the location. The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, commends the air component of Operation Hadirin Daji for their professionalism. All right, now the attention of the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development has been drawn to the fake news trending on social media that President Muhammadu Buhari will on June 12 broadcast to the nation the absorption of N-Power volunteers Batch A into the Federal Civil Service. The ministry hereby calls on the public to disregard the message and consider it as fake news. A statement by the Deputy Director Information of the ministry, Rhoda Ishaku Ilia, says any information on N-Power or the National Social Investment Program will be issued through the appropriate federal government channels. All right, now as the outcry against rape and sexual violence continues, civil societies in Oyo State have lent their voices in a conference tagged Gender-Based Violence and Child Protection Prevention Advocacy, and that happened in Ibadan. Grace Bamidele was there.
Watching in horror the latest surge in the cases of sexual abuse in the country and Oyo State in particular, Association for Women Orientations for Sustainable Development in Nigeria, AWON, alongside other civil societies and networks, organized a conference to address issues and call on government at all levels to take decisive action on the rising rape cases.
We are advocating with governments to designate and strengthen child protection and gender-based violence responders and the organization and government agencies as being essential and ensure that they are operational in all communities.
We have helplines, reports on the, call a helpline. Any of the NGOs around will come around, we work with the government, and from there the issue can be taken up.
Even if you are taking care of your girl child, take care of your boy child, so that they will not disturb the girls.
Association for Women Orientations for Sustainable Development in Nigeria is a coalition of various bodies of women organizations advocating an end to sexual violence, intimate partner violence, mental health, and HIV infections, amongst others, in Ibadan. Grace Bamdele, NTA News.
And the former Deputy Chief Imam of Egbaland, Sheikh Sadulahi Bamigbola, has been unanimously adopted by the Egba Muslim community in Ogun State as the new Chief Imam of Egbaland. Lukman Adefeso witnessed the brief ceremony at the Egba Central Mosque, Kobiti, Abeokuta.
The passing of Chief Imam of Egbaland and President General League of Imams and Alfas in Yoruba Land, Edo and Delta, Liadi Onushulu, created a vacuum, and who becomes the next Imam was the question on the lips of many Muslims. Now the Muslim communities have searched and found who the cap fits. He is Alhaji Sadatul Bamigbola. He was unanimously adopted in a peaceful process to lead in accordance with Islamic injunction.
We in Egba have done excellently well as deputy, and the people of Egba land have thought it fit to now bestow the honor of Chief Imam of Egba land on our son.
You can see today that everybody, all sections of Egba land supported his candidature.
This new Chief Imam of Egba land is a man of activities. Is a man of wisdom.
The new Chief Imam, Bamigbola, who hails from Ikoroake in Abeokuta, is the first to be appointed Chief Imam of Egba land from his community. He appealed for support and assured the people that he will lead with the fear of God.
Right, time for us now to take a look at sports. And Amazi Marcos reports on the reaction of Nigerian-born Bahraini athlete to suspension from athletics.
Bahrain's World 400 meters women champion Salwa Eid Nasser on Saturday reacted to her provisional suspension Friday by the Athletics Integrity Unit over whereabout violations. According to her, and I quote, "I only missed 3 drug tests, which is normal. It happens. It can happen to anybody. I don't want people to get confused in all this because I will never cheat," unquote. She faces a 2-year ban as World Athletics whereabout violations is a combination of 3 missed tests or filing failures, which in this case occurred prior to the World Athletics Championships in Doha in 2019, where she won gold in 48.14 seconds. On Sunday, the Athletics Integrity Unit explained there was a 4th whereabout failure in January 2020, and a notice of charge was issued in an ongoing disciplinary procedure. Nasser's winning time of 48.14 in Doha 2019 is the fastest in 34 years and the 3rd fastest in history. Born as Ebele Chukwu Abakpongu in Anambra State in 1998 to a Nigerian mother, the 22-year-old athlete started competing for Bahrain in 2014 following a shift of allegiance from Nigeria. She equally changed her name to Salwa Eid Nasser. Meanwhile, the English Premier League has announced a 0 positive test for coronavirus from a sample of 1,195 players, technical crew and staff. The result is from the 6th run of tests conducted twice weekly and comes ahead of EPL restart on June 17. And still on football, Africa, especially Nigerian football stakeholders, remember the late Super Eagles captain and coach Stephen Keshi, who died in Benin City, Edo State on June 7, 2016. In the 4th anniversary of his death, Nigerians recall with happiness the country's maiden appearance at the FIFA World Cup in USA 94, coming on the heels of Nigeria's 2nd AFCON title in Tunisia 94, with Stephen Keshi as captain. 19 years later, Stephen Keshi as coach led the Super Eagles to a 3rd AFCON title in South Africa. He belonged to the golden generation of Nigerian footballers that placed Nigeria 5th in the FIFA rankings. The Sports Update, Amazi Marcus, NTA News.
And reports just in now says the presidency wishes to draw the attention of world citizens and the international community to a most misleading campaign spearheaded by the so-called indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, using false allegations of persecution of Christians against the Nigerian state. Elizabeth Omori has details of a statement released by the presidency.
In a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, the President notes that a very deep and wide investigation by an agency of the Nigerian government working with international partners revealed that there are 2 connected campaigns being run concurrently by the IPOB in this regard. Both are using the cover of Christianity and calling for a U.S. special convoy to be appointed to stop the genocide of Christians in Nigeria. But the real purpose is to drive a wedge between the Nigerian government and its U.S. and U.K. allies. IPOB leadership, of course, self-proclaims as Jewish, a position not shared by the generality of the members. For reasons of convenience, he claims to have an interest in the welfare of Christians. But this is a ruse. The case for independence, the leader believes, is strengthened by proving the government of Nigeria is autocratic, engaged in a silent slaughter of their own citizens along religion and ethnic lines, and therefore the only viable option for the unique religious and ethnic minority is a sovereign Biafra, separate from Nigeria. Nigerians and the international community are advised to be wary of this divisive campaign, which available evidence shows is being funded with a monthly spending of $85,000 since October 2019, with no records of the source of this largesse. The campaign consists of producing articles in the names of the alleged Christian NGOs, leaders of campaign groups created at the time this PR contract with a U.S. lobbying firm was signed, and letters to and from members of Congress to the White House. Unfortunately, some members of Congress have clearly been persuaded. The American charity secured a meeting with U.S. Secretary of State and has made representations to the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. The statement also notes that there is also a UK and European angle of the campaign, which is more opaque than its US sister campaign, given there is less legal requirement for public filings. But what is known of this at the moment is that their budget is sufficient to hire 4 PR firms in the UK, Belgium, France, and the US. They have founded an NGO and charity, as well as a linked web-based campaign named Stop the Silent Slaughter, which is well designed and complete with video evidence completely concocted. Members of the alleged Christian NGO have heard multiple OPED articles in conservative news websites promulgating their message of a Christian genocide. Some of those articles have also been used as evidence in the sister U.S. campaign. 2 of those conservative news websites were co-founded by the owner of the UK PR firm they have hired to generate their publicity, as well as an OPED article in the name of a British MP who may have been convinced by the campaign under false pretense. They have secured additional coverage in France, EU, and Germany. They secured an MPS debate on the Christian genocide in the House of Commons, in which staff member of the UK PR was referenced as the private secretary to the leader of the UK-based charity.
Elizabeth Omoro, you're there with details of the statements released by the presidency. And on the downside, President Muhammadu Buhari has condoled with the former Inspector General of Police and Chairman Police Service Commission, Musliu Smith, on the loss of his wife, Irat. A statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina. The President urges the former police boss, his family, relations and friends to take heart at the passage of a dutiful wife and mother, trusting that she has returned to her Maker after a worthy life. And that ends the news from us here in Abuja. We will take some commercials and we'll return you to Becky in Lagos thereafter. Don't go away.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis, risk everything to ensure we win this fight. For those who got infected in the line of duty, rest assured that government will do all it takes to support you and your families during this exceedingly difficult period. I will also take this opportunity to assure you all that your safety, well-being, and welfare remains paramount to our government. I am using this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to the families of all Nigerians that have lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is our collective loss, and we share your grief.